as has been said, a new link has been opened in our seemingly never-ending chain of stories, and it's been opened with a question. And that question is, when the age of the gurus is at an end, and we no longer have a guru to tell us that we've arrived, or like Divine Mother, have a messenger come to tell us that we've been chosen and given a word which has power, or like some Zen master who will tell us how our enlightenment has been attained, or pass on to us, as is the custom, the staff and the ball. So this question arises for us: how do we know, as that story goes, that we have the proper authority? Or how do we know that we know? So it's already been said oftentimes that we have to become divine scientists, divine physicists, divine alchemists, and divine psychologists. And to define that in my words, to become a divine scientist is to know the art of inquiry, to know the art of how to seek without a destination in mind, or a hypothesis, or a concept, just inquiry, like a child. And the divine physicist is to know the relationship between the microcosm and the macrocosm, or the Atman and the Brahman, as they're called in Vedantic terms. And divine alchemy, to be able to know and recognize the chemistries of life, the vibes that we feel from people, with no doubt as to the recognition of what they signify. And the divine psychologist, recognizing that all the facets of the individual's psyche and all the facets of the universal psyche are like a hologram. The whole is in the parts, and the parts are in the whole. So there's a story that piques our recognition of these qualities in our self. And it's a story about a dervish who, after his many years of practices and inquiries, rituals and so forth, had come to a place where he had no anxieties about anything. And he was greatly revered by the people who knew him in his small village. And so much so that the people of the town decided to buy him a sheep. So our dervish took the sheep and took it back to his abode and took care of it very, very carefully. But then, after some time, there was a thief who decided that he was going to steal this sheep. And so he made his plans. But strangely enough, at the same time, there was a devil who decided that this dervish, spreading as he did his ability to be able to change people and so forth, decided that he was going to kill the dervish. So as it happened, both of them met on the road, on the way to the abode of the dervish. the thief, and the demon. Now, it was quite an amiable conversation, and of course the thief told the demon that he was on his way to steal the sheep of this dervish, and the demon said, well, as it happens, I'm going to kill him because he's been interfering in the ways of life. And so they were quite in agreement until they came to the outside of the dervish's house, and then of course the demon thought to himself, well, if I let this thief go in, he's going to disturb the situation, so I might not be able to go and do what I intend to do. And of course the demon thought the same thing. They thought that they would each interfere so that they would cause a ruckus and disturb, and so they wouldn't be able to complete what their intent was. So it got to fisticuffs, and they were shouting at one another. They got into great disagreement about this, the demon and the thief, and it was so loud that of course they woke up the dervish and his sheep, and of course they not only woke up the dervish and his sheep, but they woke up all the townspeople that lived around in the area. So all the townspeople came around to see what was going on, and when they see that there was conflict between the demon and the thief, and of course it was found out what their intent was because it was being shouted between them, that the townspeople all gathered together and peremptorily disposed of the demon and the thief, who were never seen again. So our dervish just went back into his abode and took good care of his sheep. So, as was said the other day when the stories were told, the stories told were kind of setting a scene, so to speak, for the unfolding of the possibility that we can answer this question. How do we know that we know? How do we know when we have the proper authority? So recognizing, as has been labored time and time again, every character in every story is an aspect of our self. So in this odd tale, we have the dervish, we have the sheep, we have the demon and the thief, and we have the townspeople. All characters that can be said to be aspects of a psyche. So recognizing this and using our abilities as a divine scientist, physicist, alchemist, and psychologist, how would we interpret this story? What does the sheep represent in a psyche? The dervish, the thief, the demon, and the townspeople. Recognizing that as a divine psychologist we know that the whole is in the parts, and the parts are in the whole. What is it that we call on to bring a comprehension, an interpretation, an understanding of what this story and all other stories represented by the souls that we meet mean? And how does that bring us to know that we know, to have the authority to act and speak in whatever way arises for us, without question, debate, reining in, querying, doubting. How do we know that we know? How do we know that we have